Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the second episode of the Champions of Small Business podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm joined today by the powerful Sarah Barr. Sarah is probably one of my favorite entrepreneur figures that I kind of look up to in this business and you know, as a local leader and local entrepreneur. So I thought it was really, really important to have her on here because she's a great example of a local entrepreneur that's doing all the right things, and she is running a really great business, Konhaus Print and Marketing. So welcome to the show, Sarah. Thank you so much for coming. Seriously, it's awesome. You're one of the people that I was like, when I started this podcast, I was like, I have to have you on. So thank you so much.
Well, thank you for having me, and I am so excited for you. I know this has been a dream of yours. So I'm happy you got it up and running, and I'm so excited to see you continue to just raise awareness for the small businesses around here.
We're trying everything we can do, you know, whether it's a podcast, social media shout outs, any way we can build up small businesses is a win in my book. So let's go to the beginning real quick. Let's give me kind of the rundown of how you got into marketing. Like, did you go to college? Did you fall into this by accident? Like, how did Sarah become part of Konhaus?
Yeah, so I actually thought I was going to go to school for education, elementary ed. Mm-hmm. And at the time, my sister was going through her pro semester in college for elementary education. And I thought, no, that one is not for me. So I started going into college undecided. There were some family health issues, and I actually had to take a break, step back, get a full-time job, help out at home. So when I did that, I immediately got into working with a company that did mostly mailings.
Okay.
And a little bit of data work and like fulfillment, like they would pack boxes and things like that.
Right.
And then that was in Harrisburg. I wanted to come back to Mechanicsburg. That's where I lived. So I started working at, I can say Jeffrey A. Wilbur Plumbing and Heating.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's funny. I didn't know that.
And so I worked with Jeff and Holly for a while,
Yeah.
and I was their dispatcher, and I can still have the little jingle about how I had to answer the phone. And I started doing their marketing, and then I realized, I really like marketing. I'm really good at it. I want to be able to do this for a bunch of different types of businesses. So I actually went to Konhaus, no college degree. They weren't hiring, and I just asked them. I really liked the owners, I liked the people at the company, and I liked what they were doing. And so I just thought, how cool would that be to get involved and be able to help multiple businesses instead of just one type of industry. Yeah. So got into it and kept running with it, and then just started going from conference to trade show to meeting with different people across the country. And I just my brain never stops.
So you just immersed yourself in all things marketing.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Practical marketing. Traditional.
Yeah. Because you don't really mess with like web design or anything digital, right? You just go strictly traditional marketing.
Yes, that's what we do. I always tell everyone, I think you should sprinkle a little bit everywhere and do a little bit of everything, but we focus a lot on the traditional forms of marketing.
Do you think that is there a certain type of business that it resonates better with to do the traditional media versus like the digital, or, you know, why would someone choose traditional over like digital?
Again, I guess it depends on the industry. It's about top of mind awareness, staying in front of people. Yeah. Obviously, a pizza shop, they have a grand opening, big sale coming up. It's a good time to drop a direct mailer and hit people right days before that's going to happen so that they know about it.
Right.
So I wouldn't necessarily say. I think there is a good form of traditional marketing for every type of business out there.
Yeah.
Just some are probably a little better than others. Obviously, contractors it works great for.
Yeah.
But really, I mean, anyone moving into the area, they all need a jewelry store. They need a vet. And so direct mail is a really good way to get the word out there about their business.
Because I love like traditional. No, I think I'm old school in the way that like I like to touch and feel things for some reason. Like a great digital ad and a great like print ad, just I don't know. You can't really compare the print ad, at least in my book.
I mean, you think about it. We were bombarded all day with messages. I mean, emails. I'm guilty. I have that folder that says, review in the future, and I keep sliding those emails. I'm like, how am I going to get back to them? And you never do. You're so busy. You got a million things going on. But I always say, when it comes to mail, you stop and get your mail when you actually have time to look at it.
Yeah.
And so whatever is on that marketing message, it better be good because you got a couple seconds to get them as they're walking up the driveway or standing and hovering over their trash can, deciding if they're going to
through doing the the shuffle.
That's what they do. So, and then my job is to work with businesses and make sure that when their mail pieces are going out, it's not hitting the same day as some of those bigger, bulkier type mailings that go out as well.
Folded in with the guide news kind of thing, so it's all like one big convenient thing to just throw away.
Yes, that's my. I mean, I can't choose how the mail gets sent out, but I certainly try my best.
You try your best.
Educate people to mail on certain days, times of the month, to try to avoid hitting it at all costs when those are going.
That's what. So, not to spend too much time on this, but so you actually look at like the guide news mailings, or maybe one of those other big like publications that goes out in our area that's specific to our area. I just think that's a good unique for working with like a local print shop like you guys, that you understand this kind of thing and you're going to get the best return versus using someone who's maybe out of state or using for, like a big name company or something that doesn't understand that, on Wednesdays, this thing hits the mailboxes. So Wednesday is probably a bad time because someone's going to see just a pile of junk mail and throw it all away. Yeah.
And I mean, I know other mail isn't supposed to get commingled into that bigger mailing, but that is what happens a lot of times. They don't care. They have a time frame and they got to get it in your mailbox. And however, if it's jammed in there with, that big bulky newsletter thing with all the miscellaneous ads, it's going to.
I love that.
So I've spent a great deal of time. I'm probably crazy. I love mail, but I want to make sure it's effective.
Yeah.
I know what carriers like what type of pieces, how big of a size piece. I know certain areas because of like having the old school letter size slits on the doors. Mm-hmm. I will guide customers and say, I know you want to mail to this area. We don't want to go any bigger than 4 1/4 by 11.
Nice.
Or this is all rural carriers. I met them. They hate glossy mail because it slides too much in their truck. So let's stick to uncoated. So, I mean, I love that. When you're working with us, I don't think even our customers understand how much I've done behind the scenes to make sure that their mail gets delivered where they're trying to get it to go.
I love that. I love that level of, like, I nerd out on those kind of details
too.
Yeah. I love that. So, tell me, you start working at Konhaus and you're immersed in marketing. You're really, really learning a lot about it. Now you're sitting here in the owner's seat, and tell me about that process, or how long have you been the official owner of Konhaus?
Sure. So I joined in 2010. Few years into it, the the previous owner had some health issues and had to take a step back. And I very quickly learned that I needed to step up to the plate and just teach myself not only everything marketing, but everything HR, accounting, anything and everything, buying equipment, negotiating, all of that stuff. Yeah. And then in 2019, I bought the company.
Nice.
And then, of course, 1 year later, COVID hits. And
I didn't even register that happened right on top of each other, huh?
Yeah. You know what I think is interesting? So so I went from being employee. Mm-hmm. You spend all that time with your coworkers. I hate this about our job. I wish we could do this. I wish we didn't do that.
Yeah.
I wish we just had this system in place to fix this. To becoming the owner and putting pressure on myself, not that anybody did, but I did it to myself. Mm-hmm. Now I feel like I got to fix all those things when I got in the driver's seat. Yeah. I have all of that pressure. Right. So I put extra pressure on myself. But so that was like part of the struggle, is going from employee to being the owner. So I spent my first year as an owner figuring out all the details, because, it was different. Like, I was running the company, but it's totally different when you know that your name and you sign those papers and it's official that, like, you're responsible for those employees getting that paycheck and they depend on you. And so I did everything in my power that first year, did a ton of research, was updating things, trying to correct things, do the best that I could to my ability. Mm-hmm. I said, going into 2020, this year, I'm going to focus a little bit outside of work. I need to really practice that work-life balance.
Yeah.
So I bought in January of 2019. So January 2020, I go to a conference for promo products, come back. I do my 1 year celebration event with the West Shore Young Professionals. I'm telling them all about
I remember
the struggles, I guess, of life in the first year as being a business owner.
Yeah.
To going into, after that, ankle reconstructive surgery, all in January 2020. And then I had 8 weeks where I was pretty much laid up and I couldn't do anything. And I was going insane because, as you know, we're not people that can just sit. I know you have ankle problems too.
Yep.
And then right when I was allowed to start doing things again, the world shut down.
Damn.
And I'm like, what do you mean I can't? I have been sitting at home for 8 weeks. What do you mean I can't go anywhere?
Yeah.
I couldn't drive. It was insane. So to go into 2020 with this mindset, man, I'm going to spend all this extra time with family and friends, and then now like completely shift myself to trying to figure out how to recover with ankle surgery. Now, what the heck does business look like? We're marketing.
Yeah.
We deal with a lot of people with events. Email, phone call. Hey, we're not doing our event. Hey, we got to back off. We're not going to need that order because we don't know if this event is going to happen.
Yep.
Just bombarded left and right. And I'm like, what do we do? What do we do? And so that was a huge struggle for me through ownership, was just trying to recover when you physically aren't feeling well.
Yeah.
And then going through a major pandemic like that.
Man.
And trying to navigate business and keep everyone feeling safe.
Dude, that's so much at one time.
Yeah.
I don't know how, like, I'm inspired. I don't know how you went through all that. I knew you went through all these things, but I didn't realize the timeline was lining up like it did. Like, I had ankle surgery recently too that I actually have to have redone. I had a reconstruction of half my ankle, had a broken talus with a torn ligament, and had to have 2 screws put in, and I'm still experiencing like problems from it. And I remember sitting on my couch feeling like absolutely useless. I was like, what? Like I didn't leave my couch for 8 weeks.
Yeah.
You know, my wife had to help me everywhere I went. And I remember feeling like I can't let this affect my business.
Yeah.
I cannot let this affect. And I actually had to hire a couple people because of it. Because I was like, I can't be ineffective for 8 weeks.
Yeah.
And it was such a rough feeling to go through. Feeling so helpless like that. But you got to focus on yourself too. But to come back and have to deal with COVID, because I mean, your fallout from COVID was probably pretty serious. You know, I know when times get tough, a lot of the first thing a lot of people cut is marketing. Mm-hmm. You know, and I know for us, we had a bunch of people that were trying to cancel contracts on us because they're like, oh, if I don't have to replace this expensive roof, I'm not going to. Can I? And we're like, you know, we worked with them, you know, to ultimately get it done, but.
My biggest thing was talking our customers through, because they were just as panicked as I was. We were all trying to figure out what to do.
Yeah.
And so rather than them coming and they just, let's send mailers and let's do this and let's print this and I need these signs and like, hold on a sec. Let's look at the bigger picture.
Yeah.
I don't want to see people waste money, spend money on things that they don't need to be doing. So it was really a group effort. My team's amazing.
Yeah.
It was tough though in the beginning because we were deemed as non-essential.
Same.
So we shut down for a day and I'm like, all right, let me look into it. I always will tell people my number one piece of advice is connect with other people in your industry from around the country. Mm-hmm. They become like the most amazing support system. So that's what I did. What's going on in your state? This is what's going on in our state. And we all figured it out. And I was able to put in one of those.
You put in the request to have them
to get approved. Because you think about it, like nonprofits that are providing like maybe a mobile food pantry.
You're supporting them.
The people that they're trying to get the message out to, hey, we're going to be in your town. We're going to have a pop-up on this day. Those people might not have a computer or a tablet or a cell phone. They depend on that direct mail piece to get them there. We dealt with like senior living facilities. They needed to be able to communicate with people about loved ones that were testing positive or staff members or whatever. So like there was a lot of things that we did. Plus we made signage letting people know where to go, where to pick things up.
Yeah.
So to think that we were deemed as non-essential was just insane.
Yeah.
And the craziest thing that I printed through COVID that I sit back and I'm like, oh my gosh, it got to a point where we were printing cards for people to hand out to employees that said, I am an essential employee, for them to carry in their wallet because we didn't know if we were going to get pulled over and get arrested and just the craziest world we were living in. And that one, I remember printing it and standing over top of it. And I'm like, are we really,
is this
I guess
real?
This is where we're at. Like, this is the real deal. But yeah, it was crazy.
How surreal. I remember driving to work and it was, because I couldn't sit at home. And I was like, if I'm the only one going to work, like,
Felt
like
sick.
everybody else. I was like, but I can't just stay here. I have to at least go to work and like try to do something. And I remember like ghost streets with like tumbleweeds rolling down them, and I was like looking over my shoulder.
Yeah, it was so weird.
Yeah, we weren't an essential business at first either. I think it took like a month for them to finally say like, okay, construction, you guys are back. You can come back in. And I mean, a bunch of other businesses weren't so fortunate, but
yeah,
I'm glad you were able to at least figure that out. And you only had one day to shut down.
Yeah,
That's good.
yeah. Pretty much got back up and running. We were able to keep our whole team full-time staffed. I mean, that was really, really hard, but that was a goal of mine.
Yeah.
I know a lot of businesses had to lay people off, and don't get me wrong, that crossed my mind a million times, but I was trying so hard to keep my people going, and we did, and I was thankful for that. But I'll tell you, I kind of stopped when I got to the COVID part, but that was just the beginning with my foot.
Mm-hmm.
So a few months in to 2020, I get a letter from my landlord, not a phone call, a letter saying, hey, we're going to put the building up for sale.
Oh, no.
And I'm like, oh, why not?
Yeah.
Still recovering from surgery, trying to figure out COVID.
Yep,
like, let's just keep adding to it.
Dumping it
so I call my lawyer, and I'm like, what do I do?
Yeah.
Because I did not have a lease.
Oh, no.
I did not have a lease at the time. It's okay. We were already looking for new space.
Yeah, you were outgrowing that already.
Oh my gosh, we worked out of that space for way too long.
Yeah.
So I was already looking, but it was just like that. Like,
just another thing that you.
I'm not winning lottery. I'm not winning the lottery anytime soon. That's for sure. I don't have that kind of luck. So I talked to my lawyer. He's like, "Don't worry about it. Just keep actively looking for a new space, and it'll take a while. We're in the middle of COVID." Well, I think it was like 2 months later. This guy comes in, buys it, pays cash for our whole building.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody moves out but us. It's not that easy. I have equipment.
Yeah.
I need to be able to get paper deliveries. I mean, it was a whole process.
Right.
So, throwing in, trying to locate a new space and then handle moving a company all again while you're still recovering from the ankle surgery. Not that didn't take a while, but it took 18 months to recover and
to fully recover. Huh?
And COVID was a big part of that because in the beginning, my whole plan, like I was supposed to go to a gym and be able to ride a bike. Gyms were closed.
Yep.
You couldn't buy equipment, like fitness equipment. It was all sold out.
Everybody was buying it because they were making home gyms.
You could, massage therapy to go and work. They were closed. It was just, I felt like I was just deemed for a failure no matter what I was doing. So, the past several years have been, I'm just thankful for everyone that has decided to stay along for the ride, and I appreciate their support. Man,
so what's the biggest thing that you took out of all of that? Like out of this whole like last 3 years, if you could kind of like summarize it as I know for us it was like, okay, things could change at the drop of a hat, and you need to have your financials in order so that way you can cover your people. Yep. You don't have to worry about things like PPP loans or loans from the government to get you through. Like, how can you control your financial destiny was a big thing that I took from it. Can you think of anything that's like something overarching that you now do differently in your business because of what you've experienced?
Definitely diversify the clients that we work with. I know some people in my industry, they might have like one or two really big clients. Yeah. And I mean, you have one of them pull out. I mean, that's just devastating to your company. So I'm thankful that we work with a variety of different types of businesses, industries. I didn't realize until we went through COVID how many essential, and I say that because I just hate the term non-essential and essential. Everybody's essential.
Yeah, we all play a role here.
But so that I noticed in that time frame, like a lot of the different clients that I dealt with, they were considered essential businesses as well. So that also helped me. Yeah. We just had to shift our mindset and always be thinking of what can we be doing different. And then the other part I took away is supporting my local community. We came up with that Keep It Local campaign. Yes. And remember all the small business.
All the signs everywhere.
Yeah, it was insane. I think we distributed to over 500 small businesses. Nice. It was on billboards. National publications picked it up and wrote it. I had no idea when I first had that mindset, but I knew it was important. You have to support your local economy if you want to see the stores. And it's not just stores. We were talking about businesses like a print company, an accountant, financial advice. Like there are so many local businesses that you can be supporting versus just going online.
Yeah, it's because especially during COVID, I mean, Amazon was the I mean, it was the only choice there for a while.
Yeah.
But coming off the heels of that, people were still stuck in that mindset of like, well, Amazon is super easy. Let me just keep using that.
Yeah.
Right. And let me go buy my, I don't know, my printer paper that's just an example, but, buy this from Amazon or buy that from Amazon instead of going back to the local place that I was at, because I got used to it over the 6 months where they were deemed non-essential.
Yeah.
I think that's such a huge thing that you did, though, and that's, you really kicked off something in me watching this whole thing happen with COVID, with your, like, just ferocious support of small business really opened my eyes. Remember the first time that I kind of sat down, and it was during COVID. You had I'd made a video for, like, I was called it like Coffee Talk or something, and I was like, I'm just gonna shout out like Sarah. She was like doing something like you were doing something really cool, and I was like, I just had a cup of coffee and sat and just talked at my camera for a while, and that was like, so you really kicked all of this off for me. So, and then the times when you think that no one's watching, and the times that you think that like maybe what you're doing is I don't know if you ever felt like it was fruitless at some point. Like, God, is anyone listening? Like, I was listening, and
thank you.
All this is really, in part to you and watching what you did, and it lit a fire in me, and that's what I'm doing here.
You're gonna make me cry.
But it lit a fire in me for real, and that's what I'm like, let's take this and run with it, and maybe if I can take some of that same energy that you had and put it towards this podcast, or put it towards any way to support small.
Yeah, I don't know where I had the energy to come up with that, but I knew it was important.
Probably out of survival.
Yeah.
If you don't keep your energy up, then it, all that stuff, all that weight coming down on you for all of that is.
Yeah. I know it's big. I try my hardest. I give back, and I try to do business with people that do business with me. Mm-hmm. That's one of my most important things that I feel strongly about. And then it's my community. That's my second. So I look at clients first, then I go to the community. And I always say people don't know what they don't know. Right. So same thing like DoorDash and all, like, sure, they're convenient. They can drop stuff off at your house, but it's a major hit on the local restaurants. Yeah. I can't do it.
Yeah.
But I think it's just because I have that small business mentality inside that I just skip all of that and I go direct to the business, and I'll either do delivery through them or I'll
go and pick
it up. Yeah.
Yeah. That's such an important, I was just telling, we met with some other parents at a park the other day, and we were talking about DoorDash, and someone was saying that, like, oh yeah, if they forget your hot sauce, if you call them, they'll just comp your meal. And I'm like, oh, that's crushing, because DoorDash isn't comping that meal.
Right.
DoorDash didn't forget the hot sauce the restaurant did. So that restaurant's probably eating 100% of that on top of paying gigantic fees to, I know some restaurants, some owners that have actually pulled out from offering it altogether.
And part of them is that, well, we got to keep up with the times. The times are changing, and that's where people are at. So we got to be on it. But then, they're seeing how it's not beneficial to them. And I think a lot of them are just throwing their hands up going, this is insane. Yeah. Our costs are already, with inflation and stuff, and now we're going to get hit with all these fees. They just can't do it.
Yeah. So. And to a certain extent, you do have to kind of conform, if that's the way that people are buying now. Sometimes it's a necessary evil, but I think, look, we were discussing before we started the podcast, the overall message of this, and I don't want to hijack your conversation here for too long, but if we can just literally take 10% of our spending, not even 10%, probably 5% of our spending, $50 per month, just $50 per month, every resident here in Cumberland, Lancaster, York, and Dauphin County, every resident there that's able to make a buying decision that is an adult, and we took $50 a month and put that towards a local business, 68% of that stays in our community, which would equate to about $450 million per year. And it's such a big thing. So, like, we could have all new roads. We could have new bridges, safer bridges. We could have better parks for our kids. We could have better books. We could pay our teachers better. We could do all of these things, and it would just, I feel like, ripple endlessly in a positive direction through our local society here. Yep. So that's, anyone who's listening, if it's a late night, I know DoorDash is there, but just that one. And it's gonna be cheaper for you, anyways.
Yeah,
if you don't do the really DoorDash, if you go straight to the source, and you're gonna make a connection with that person. Yeah. Like you said earlier, connections are everything. You had connections with other people who were able to help you through the pandemic, right? And say, hey, here's what we did, and now we're deemed essential. Like, those people helped you. I mean, your network is your net worth, right? So, God, it's so important. And, like, I want to go and scream it from the rooftops.
Yeah.
Scream it from the rooftops of just how important it is, and just how, how much I think we could all benefit from it, really.
Absolutely.
So back to your story here.
Yeah.
So you take ownership of Konhaus, and you're an owner for the first time. Were you a lot younger than like a lot of the people that you were managing? How was that?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're like 20 years older than me.
Yeah. Was that a little bit of a struggle, like to get over that? Did you have to like go through the ranks and earn the respect, kind of thing?
I mean, I think I already did that prior to becoming the owner, because I was already doing so much of the day-to-day operations.
Right.
But I had to do it with my industry.
Yeah. No, that's a good point. Yeah.
My industry, when you look at the print industry as a whole, it's a very male-dominated.
Mm-hmm.
Hate to say it, but like 50 to 70-year-old range of guys.
Sure.
And I mean, here I am coming in my 20s.
Yeah.
And I still remember I was talking to somebody that is not even in my industry, and they said, "You bought a what?" And I said, "I bought a print company." And they're like, "Print? That's not...
Isn't that dead?"
Isn't that dead?
Yeah.
And I hate that saying, because that could not be so much further from the truth. But yeah, so I did have to earn the respect, though, from peers in my industry. That was actually probably harder than earning the respect from my employees.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I guess because a lot of your previous clients may have been used to working with someone else, and now all of a sudden they're working with you. Yeah. Did you lose clients and all that
No.
that shuffle?
No, not
Good.
really.
That's awesome.
But I did find it interesting. Like, I still to this day, I'm not kidding you, there's a sales guy that comes in, very old school, likes to come in, shake your hand, check on you, see how things are going. He walks by me every time.
Get out of here.
He does not acknowledge me. He doesn't even wave to me. Nothing.
Really?
Like, he just walks by. And I'm not one of the, like, I haven't had a lot of those experiences, but it's funny. I'll go to a trade show, and I'm there to, spend $100,000 on a piece of equipment.
Right.
People won't talk to me.
Really?
Yeah. So I don't know if they just look at me and think, oh, she just looks young or whatever. I was looking for a car last year, and I went in to a dealership, and it was for the business. And the guy asked me, or he told me that I could wait until I brought my husband back to talk about the deal. So needless to say, I didn't end up buying from there. But I just thought, wow, are we still seriously in a world where like these types of conversations are really happening? But they are.
Man, that's
and I shake it off.
Yeah.
I was raised the right way, so I'm better
You're
than
tough.
that, and it just is what it is. But now I laugh about it.
Yeah. I see so many strong women in business. That's like I don't know how I couldn't hold that belief anymore if I tried. Between you and the main supplier of our like roofing shingles is Diane Hendricks, and she is a multi-billionaire.
Wow.
I mean, and she did the same thing that you did.
Yep.
Right? She worked up the ranks through her company and ended up purchasing the company between her and her husband, and now her husband passed away, and she runs this $80 billion corporation by herself.
That's crazy.
So I have so much respect for women in business, and I think they might even have an edge.
Yeah.
Honestly, because I know just with the women that I work with, they keep me in check. So they
we are very good at that.
Yes, very much so. So what's like what would you say is like the biggest challenge that you're facing in your business now? Now that you're pre-COVID, hopefully ankles feeling pretty good still.
Is this real one?
Yeah, I think so. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But like, what's the biggest challenge that you face on like the day to day now that you're through all of this?
So my personal struggle is, and will still continue to be, is as a business owner, doing things that you have to do versus what you want to do.
Mm-hmm.
And so I may go in every day, have the intentions of doing 4 things, and I leave doing none of them because 8 other fires have now popped up, or this rush project has come in, or we got shorted on paper, and you're just constantly dealing with a million different things. So that's my hardest. And the lack of thoroughness. And what I mean by that is Like if I'm working on something for a client, they want something, say a promo items are the perfect example. So you want a promo item, you contact me. I go to the vendor. I'm checking on, do they have the color? Do they have the availability? What is the turnaround? Is rush available? All those questions.
Right.
Well, sometimes they answer you. Sometimes they want you to email them. They don't always email you back instantly. So it could be days. Yep. And I'm calling and I'm calling and I'm calling. And meanwhile, I'm doing 80 other things. And I'm like, wait a minute, this time has passed. Charlie hasn't heard from me. Oh my gosh, it's been a couple days. Now I need to get back to him and let him know we haven't heard. And now I'm following up with these people.
Yeah.
Or I'm sending the stuff over and then I'm being told, oh, yeah, we know we told you that was going to be the production finish date and it was going to ship, but yeah, it's just going to be another 5 days now.
And now you're the bad guy.
And now I'm the bad guy. Yep. And now I have to, so those types of constant struggles.
Yeah. But those are the kind of things where like I see people like leave working with one vendor to work with another vendor because of like a little mishap or a slip up or someone cut you off on the road and you write that company a bad review. Like there's small businesses are people just like the people that run them, right? Like the way I kind of look at small businesses, it's like a living, breathing thing that mistakes are going to happen and short sights are going to happen and, things can't be perfect. So like anyone who's listening, I wish we can all give a little bit of leniency to small business because everything that you just described, I'm like having Vietnam flashbacks over here of especially when you said like you go in, you write out your plan for the day and you're like, okay, here's my 4 rocks for the day, and I'm going to split my day and I'm going to hit out each one of these. And end of the day comes and you didn't do any of them, but you also have 4 more things that now need to be on your to-do list tomorrow.
And keep in mind, you already have 3 meetings lined up first thing, and then you have to deal with the doctor's appointment, and then it's never ending. It really is.
Yeah, you're giving me it's such an emotional drain. I mean, luckily you have Chris who is probably just like at the end of the day like, you got this, Sarah. It's gonna be okay.
Tell you what, he has been my rock. I think your support system outside is just as important as the support system that you have inside of your business. And my husband, actually at our ribbon cutting, I feel so bad. I still give him this shout out to this day. I thanked everybody at that ribbon cutting except my husband. And of course, after it was all said and done, he came up and said something jokingly, but I felt awful. But no, seriously, he has stepped up to the plate.
Yeah.
I now know that he knows how to vacuum and do laundry. For me, I don't need flowers or whatever, but it's showing up and seeing when I'm having a rough day and knowing just by you doing like a little task at home that you knew I was going to come home and do. Yeah. To take that away so I didn't have to waste energy that I didn't already have to begin with. That's huge.
Shout out to Chris.
Yes. Chris.
He's the real winner.
He's amazing. And he renovated all of Konhaus. So if you like anything in there, the way it's decorated, that was all him.
He did all of Konhaus?
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah. It looks good in there.
Yeah. And he's not even he's not a real contractor, but he's an equipment operator, but he is very talented. He can do a little bit of everything.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Well, so I think I've covered just about everything that I was gonna talk to you about here today. Real quick, Evolve. Explain what Evolve is to me, because this was kind of interesting. Okay. You had to set up a second business to. So
when you buy a business or you purchase another business, you still have to create your own. EIN. Yeah. So I did create Evolve Print and Marketing, and that was going to be the plan to eventually change the name like most people want to do. Yeah. And so I had to do that, but then I'm listed to do business as Konhaus Print and Marketing. Right. And when it came down time and we were moving, that was the perfect time to change it, do the transition. But I thought Konhaus is already known. People might not all know how to pronounce it. Yeah. But it's known. We have a great presence online. We have good reviews, good reputation. Like, why do I want to start over from scratch?
Yeah, why would you abandon that?
So we decided to keep the name, and then I just rebranded the logo and made it to fit more of my style and change the colors and fonts. And
gave it your own, your own little refresh, kind of your own take on it.
And then too many times you see people like buy a company, merge it in, or do whatever, and it's like I didn't want our customers to forget that the people that they worked with, they are still there. We still do business the same way.
Right.
It just so happens that my name is now the owner versus the previous owners.
I think that's a great point to, rebranding a business is hard.
Yeah.
I've been there. We tried it.
Yeah.
You were with me.
Yes.
We tried it, and it's there's a lot that goes into it. So yeah, sometimes you don't need to stack the struggles on yourself if you don't need to. I think you let your wiser head prevail.
Yeah.
Don't pick a fight where there doesn't need to be one.
I always say if it's not broke.
If it's not broke, don't fix it.
That's right.
That's all right.
That's a perfect example.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's all I have for you, Sarah. Okay. I know we're about 35 minutes in here, so I don't want to take up too much of your time. I know you're a busy lady. So thank you so much for talking with me here. It's a great conversation. Your story is awesome.
Oh, thank you.
Really, thank you for everything that you do for us here at DreamWorks. Thank you for everything you do for the small business community and how active you are. And you're always keeping me on my toes. So I strive to hopefully one day be as what I think is as influential of a business owner as what you are to me, to others.
Well, thank you very much.
No problem. All right. Thanks again, Sarah.
Thank you.